your camera, you may want to move your camera up a little bit, and the only reason but your behind you,
Yeah.
it says deposit excuses. Hey everybody, Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group, with my co-host Abe Safa, and I was just telling him as we were getting going that that the right behind the picture says deposit excuses. Okay, you can't deposit excuses. Okay, yeah. I don't want to have that information going out to the public, because you and I are definitely not one that's going to ask people to deposit their excuses, and especially don't deposit them with us, because we don't want to hear them, But anyways, hey, thanks again for joining me. I tell you, the last episode that we did last week, Abe, I don't know about for you, but I had so many of our owners that are listening to this, it sent some nice messages appreciating the information and the consistency of us giving these updates. So here we are again. It's another week. It's definitely another week of activity. The market is something that we're keeping our eyes on. Home buyers thinking prices will go down. Let's talk about that, because I think what we're experiencing right now is, the home buyers are, whether we see it in their actions or whether they're actually just flat out telling us their beliefs on the market, we're having these conversations. So what's your thoughts behind this?
Yes, I mean, last week's conversation, Greg, we talked about we're finally seeing data showing that prices are going down, right? So it took us a while, even though we kind of felt it. You and I talked about it in private, but didn't have enough of a trend to be able to put it out to the public. So last week we finally put it out. And the Fannie May housing index, housing sentiment index, which I look at every single month when it comes out. So it came out last week, and for the first time in a very long time, I think it goes back to 2011, more consumers feel that prices will go down than thinking that they won't. Right. So for the first time, that tide has shifted over, where people are really anticipating that the prices are going to be going down, which they have already begun. So I'll give you a couple of quick stats on that housing index, and then I'll definitely want to get your opinion on what you think on that. So only 19% of buyers think it's a good time to buy, right? So Fannie Mae does this. They do it once a month, and they basically survey a bunch of consumers out there and say, okay, do you think it's a good time to buy? Do you think it's a good time to sell? Those kinds of questions. And only 19% of buyers right now think it's a good time to buy. 59% of people think it's a good time to sell. So that number dropped tremendously. A few months back, it used to be in the 70s. Okay, so both of those are the lowest numbers that we've seen in a very long time. And of course, as I just mentioned, more people think that prices will go down than not. So all of these things are new things. Like, we haven't seen that since 2011, and then the beginning of the pandemic, where more people felt like prices will go down than not. So that's a big deal.
Yes,
right? It's all about perception and how people feel about the economy and the market.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. Sure. Can I comment on this one, or
Absolutely.
do you? Okay,
so
I wasn't sure if you were going to go through a few more or stop in between. So I'm going to give you an opinion, and I really want to hear what your thought is too, Abe. I totally get why the buyer sentiment is going down. Mm-hmm. Okay, because interest rates are gone up, and and that's a real cost. Like, if the interest rate went up and they've got to get a loan, then their payment went up. That's something that when interest rates went up, it was immediate impact to the buyer. Okay. So I get why they're saying that, why they're feeling that way. I wish they wouldn't, but I understand it. But what I don't understand, and I think that sellers need to be careful of, is sellers' sentiment is going down, meaning they're thinking it's a bad time to sell. But if we look at the data on pricing, with the exception of last week, and even last week included, if we look at where a price is for a seller right now, the prices have not actually shifted down to a level that should require sellers to say it's a bad time to sell. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of the owners are hearing the news, they're hearing the problems that the buyers are having, and they're making an assumption, well, that must mean that it's a bad time to sell. Now, I don't know, maybe, but the numbers don't show it's a bad time to sell, but the numbers do kind of show or justify why a buyer would say it's a bad time to buy. I get that because their payments have went up,
Right.
but the selling prices have not really went down that much. We did see it go down, but we're talking about small movements. So there's still runway and there's still time for a seller to be able to sell right now. There's still time. Now, how much time? I don't know. That gets into predicting the market, which Abe, you and I kind of are careful of. But what are your thoughts on that? Because that's how I feel.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. It seems to be like a disconnect, and I'll give you my opinion on it, right?
Okay.
So in a vacuum, if you were selling right now, it's still a great time to sell, right? But most people aren't just selling, they're selling and then buying.
Good
right?
point.
So if you were selling and then become a buyer and you're buying, then you're back with the same boat as the other buyers thinking, okay, now all of a sudden I've got to go buy at close to 7% interest rate. I'm still buying at the height of the market. So that's where the I guess the water gets muddy.
Yes.
Now, to add to that is we went through the lowest interest rates we've ever had the last 2 years before it went up. So a lot of people, we had more refinances than ever before. So many people refinanced at 2.9, 3%, 3.25%, that range. And now all of a sudden, if they do have to turn around and sell, even though they're going to get a really good price right now, they're going to have to turn around and buy at the height and then also pay a higher interest rate. So I think that's where people start to get a little bit queasy about, okay, really, do I really want to sell? Is this a good time to sell? Because that's my opinion, because of that factor, not because of the prices. Prices are still great.
You know, that's an excellent point. It really is. And there's a percentage that fall into that category, right? And just like there's a percentage of people that are they can sell right now and they already have another home. You know, that might be a whole different conversation, but that is really a good point. And I think what a lot of owners, you know, what I hear a lot of people saying is, well, you know what, I'd love to sell, but I'm afraid that if I buy something, I can't afford the payments because of the interest rates going up. So that is one of those things. If it's not affordable, then I can understand. But that's also another sign that if that's not affordable, and that's the cause of a lot of people not doing anything, then that may be one of the things that actually influences the prices to come down. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, it's one of those kind of catch-22 scenarios. But tell us a little bit more about what other data do we have?
Well, let me add on to what I just said, because of the perception out there, because of the sentiment that's out there, I still think there's a percentage of people that it's not their primary residence. It's an investment property. It's a second home, and actually do want to sell, but feel like they missed the boat. You haven't.
That's right.
So if you can sell, okay, without having to repurchase right now, it's still a phenomenal time to be a seller. Inventory is still super, super low. So I want to make sure that those people that are out there that don't have to turn around and buy again, you have not missed the boat. Okay, prices have not gone down enough where like, okay, man, you missed the height. Okay, they've gone down a tiny bit, but it's still a really good time to sell.
That's right. Yeah, you know, it goes back to if a year ago, if we were exactly where we are right now a year ago, we would be screaming that this is a great seller's market.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we talked again last week about prices starting to go down. I want to throw a little bit more data because I think that trend is probably going to be continuing into October. And the reason I say that is we're looking at pendings and we're looking at inventory. So when you look at last month, at the end of the month, end of September, pendings for single family home resales were down 33%. So 33% less pendings, which pendings are a leading indicator into what's going to most likely close.
Yeah.
So not only are pendings going down, we're seeing a higher level of fall throughs, as you and I were discussing this morning, because of appraisals, because of buyers, their interest rate went up, they didn't lock it in, and they all of a sudden they can't afford it. So when you combine the two, of pendings being down, number of pendings being down, and then also fall throughs going up, there's going to be less closed sales in October relative to last year. And then condos, percentage of condos pending down 43% compared to last year. So those are big numbers.
Big numbers, because just about every transaction has to be pending before it closes. Now, when I say that, we're using language in the multiple listing service. So there could be some private pendings that don't show up in our multiple listing service, but those represent a very, very low percentage of the overall transactions. So 33% less single family homes pending probably translates to 35, 36, 37% less closings. And the reason why it would be more or less closings is because some of those pendings will actually fall through. Right. Not all the pendings will close. As a matter of fact, about 11% of those or 12% of those will probably fall through. So 33, pendings is going to lead to less closings. So we're about ready to see that. We're probably now far enough in the cycle where we're going to see like closings, like a year over year for a given month. Closings are going to be down quite a bit. We're starting.
Oh yeah, they were down a good bit last month. I can't remember the numbers from last week, but I wouldn't be surprised if we sell 40% less homes in October than we did last year. That would not surprise me at all if it was that big of a number.
Yeah.
And then inventory, because homes aren't selling as quickly, because less homes are selling, inventory is creeping up a little bit. When it comes to single family homes, it's up to 2.3 months supply, which is a 53% increase over last year, year over year. It's not a big increase month over month, okay, but it's gradually going up. It was 1 month supply, 5-6 months ago, and it's slowly creeping up. It went up to 2, and now it's 2.1, 2.2. Now it's up to 2.3 for single family home resales, and it's up to 2.1 months supply for condos, and that's up 91% year over year. That was down to like roughly 18 days supply of inventory at the lowest level of inventory that we had. So that's a significant change from 18 days to 2.1 months supply.
Yeah. This is something I don't know. I don't know that you heard this. I don't think you did, Abe. But this is something that I'm hearing firsthand. Okay, not hearsay, not read it in the news. Something that I've got direct knowledge of. I know an investor who reached out to a national builder today and asked them, if I was to buy 4 homes all at one time, would you discount all of them for 25% if I bought 4 in bulk? And the answer was, let me get back. Let me talk to the manager. Within an hour, phone call back. Yes.
Wow.
25%. Now, let's not get too crazy and start to think, oh my gosh, prices are going to plummet. There's all kinds of reasons why a national builder who's publicly traded, there's some advantages for getting things off of their books when in terms of how their price is and their valuation on Wall Street when it comes to their stock price. So there's some additional motivations and incentives that a builder would have, a national builder that's publicly traded would have by doing something like that. But from what I'm understanding that this is happening across the country. Like this would be a third generation or third generation, statement here, which is, I have heard of somebody that bought 20 with this same exact builder in a different market and got 25% reduction price. They bought 20 homes from the builder.
Yeah, well, number one, that's very creative. I love the idea, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of these builders, they don't want to sit on this inventory.
That's right.
If they can unload some of it, you're gonna see more of that.
Yeah. Got it.
That's where we are, Greg. So a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, there's one other thing that I'm really kind of this just started popping up the last couple of days. It just kind of got into my ear, and that is we're noticing a lot more fall throughs right now because of appraisal rates. Right. So what's really interesting, I just said a moment ago that sellers, that there's really not a lot of indication that prices have come down at any significant, level. But the amount of appraisals that are no longer coming through, the deals that are not appraising has increased significantly. But the comparable sales that justifies lower appraisal is not necessarily there. So what we're noticing is that it seems like the appraisals are coming in much more conservative than they had been before. Property would sell over full price and it still appraises. Now, a property's actually not even selling for full price and there's some appraisal issues. I don't really know how that really works because the appraisers usually use the past data. I can only make a complete assumption, and that is banks probably are being a little bit more conservative on the amount of money that they're going to lend on a given property. Appraisers probably understand that and are being a little bit more tight on the values that they're giving on the appraisals. That's actually causing some additional fall throughs. So it's just another thing. What we're trying to bring to you with Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV, we're just trying to bring to you like what's really happening at the ground level. These are the things that we're dealing with. And if you're needing to sell or wanting to sell, you need to reach out to Abe and I because we understand these things. And then we know how to speak to a bank or to the appraisal to see if we can get them to have, if we can offer them some additional data that they'll consider. Sometimes they will, sometimes that they won't. But when an appraisal is done and it comes in lower, there's an appeal process. A lot of agents don't know that. You can appeal the appraisal. You can give them additional information and they'll go through a second review. Again, it doesn't always work out the way that we want it, but it's just a process that we put our sellers through or the transactions through to make sure that we protect our clients. So just beware. It's more important today to work with a knowledgeable agent than it has been in quite a long time.
No question about it, especially if prices continue to depreciate, Greg. It's crucial. Every single day on the market is going to matter.
That's right. All right, Abe. Well, thank you so much.
Enjoyed it.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.